listening to Inclusive AF with Jackye Clayton and Katee Van Horn.
I have things to say.
Jackye has all the things to say.
It's Katee and Jackye, Inclusive AF, the musical.
Dun, da, da, da. We should do that. Just have one episode that's just us singing. Because
I
we
like
have
it.
super good singers. For all of those listening, if you didn't know, now you know, we're the singer extraordinaires. So,
That's right.
Jackye, what is that? Is that your new microphone around your neck?
No, it's just
What
on
is
my shirt. It says you're on mute.
Oh, okay. You have, it looks like it's a necklace though. I thought, okay, so she has a
No.
t-shirt on that says you're on mute. The way that her necklace is laying on her shirt though, it looks like it is like a microphone that's attached to like her. That's funny. Because
I think you're onto something, though. I think we
I was
should actually
thinking,
invent that. That's a cool idea.
but that seems like it would hurt my neck, I think. I don't know if I'd like that to have a necklace microphone.
I'm all over it.
Okay, I'm just saying. All right, well, listen, we are going to talk about
The EEOC has a class action lawsuit against Workday. Listen, this is earth shattering and out of control. I don't know if this has ever happened. So a little backup. A person was suing. It's Mobley versus Workday. So a person decided to sue Workday because they said that the software discriminated against people. I believe this guy happened to be a Black person, but they were saying that it discriminated against them. And so they sued, and that case they like put on hold, and they're going to have to revisit. But the EEOC looked at that case and said, you know what? We agree, and filed a class action lawsuit. And they supported this plaintiff's theory that the AI in a vendor can be liable under Title VII, what ADA for people who have disabilities, and employment discrimination because of it. That's huge. They're saying software can be held compliant versus the laws and like trying to make sure that they don't sue against people with disabilities. I mean, this is huge.
yeah. Well, and the fact that the EEOC has gotten involved also lets you know, I mean, that is lending a huge kind of vote of confidence, if you will, to the claim as well. So that's going to be interesting. And, the part that struck me is all of these companies that use AI. I mean, we know that there are a ton of companies that's actually their claim to fame is, hey, we can help you screen resumes with X, Y, and Z and, whatever it might be. And as we all know, anytime it's a human-made tool, AI kind of can get funky and things can go left real quick. So,
well, it's just ugly to think about. Like so many people, and that's been the pitch for AI. Like you don't need, we'll do it for you. And so they're saying, oh, if you're employing this software, then it's your HR, you're outsourcing your function to an algorithm and a software. And I dare somebody to try to argue with that.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, like, how are they even going, like, again, the EEOC doesn't get involved with this type of stuff unless they know they're going to win. And, if they got involved, it's not going to go away anytime soon. And how many other companies are going to get pulled into this if this does go through and if this does, become a thing, because we know so many people are using this type of tool, whether it's Workday or whatever. And I just, the whole, okay.
Let me give you clarification before people go in there. Let me give clarification in case people. So when we talked about it, it started with Mobley versus Workday. So in that case, Mobley said that Workday engaged in a pattern or practice of discriminatory job screening that disproportionately disqualifies African Americans, individuals over 40, and individuals with disabilities from securing employment in violation of Title VII. And they said specifically, Workday's AI and algorithms are more likely to deny applicants who are Black, over 40, and have a disability, and said that they acted as an employment agency. So that was filed in 2023. And so that one, they dismissed it. It's fully briefed, but it doesn't mean that it's done, because it wasn't until April 2024 when the EEOC decided to file back and say that they thought that they had that piece, that it was inappropriately partisan. And so the EEOC is doing on behalf of Mobley. Can you imagine? Like, they're selling a software company. The local judge in California is like, no, I don't think so. And the EEOC is like, really? Because we think so. Wow.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, is like, this whole, is there bias in your algorithm conversation? I mean, we've heard about it with everything that we're seeing, and I think people are trying to make AI better, even just like ChatGPT, but it's one of those things that as a vendor, they're not actually the employer. And so how does that get applied when it's not like truly, at the end of the day, they're not making the decision on hiring or not hiring, but if the recruiter isn't even seeing resumes, they're getting auto declined or whatever, because they don't have whatever words or language that they're looking for. That's just fascinating to me.
I don't think it is. That's why I was like, wait a minute. Because I think about it, I think people think the algorithm, like I, low key wish that it would do that for me. I guess with my most recent role, I had to go through like over 1,100 resumes. I went through all of those one by one by hand, and still got accused of being a robot. But the thing is, it's like humans are worse. P.S.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I guess that might also be like the backup claim, but the turndowns, it sounds like, it was like within hours of applying to these different roles. So there's something in the background doing something. So anyways,
something was doing something. So it makes me nervous, because how far does it go? I understand the executive order. I understand being nervous about AI and how it works and what we're using it for. I don't think it's cut and dry as they try to make it seem. Like, I don't think that anybody purposely is trying to do any of those things. But it brings you to the other question, just like we saw that came out in New York recently. Like, you have to have a third party checking on the software to make sure that you're not biased. At least tell me that you're checking it, and tell me that
But
because a lot of people are just ignorant.
Yeah, I don't think that people even think about it or think about the impact that it might have. And it's just one of those things that, if this does go further, or if this does become an actual case, like, obviously it's just at this point just a lawsuit. If this becomes like a real situation, it is like, okay, is the EEOC overstepping by saying that this tool, these vendors are liable? But I know, like, I mean, we know, like I said, there's so many of these new tools that are coming out that it basically says straight up, we will screen candidates for you with our automated boobity bobbity boop,
with their boobity bobbity boop.
Yeah, like Cinderella. Yeah, like Cinderella. Like Cinderella can choose.
But I mean, Workday is it. They are having the worst week. Like, wasn't there a show that used to be like worst week ever?
Yeah.
Workday is having the worst month ever.
Well, why? I don't know why else. Why else? What else is going on with that?
So we have that case. There was an article that was in the Business Insider that says everybody hates Workday, explaining why everybody hates Workday. We also know something else happened. It was, like people, I haven't seen people talk so much about one particular software. I haven't seen this since we saw back in the day with HireVue, when everybody was like, HireVue. I haven't seen it in a long time. And so many people have been worried about talking about them because they're so huge.
Yep.
And so people haven't been, said they didn't. It's called the most hated workplace, the most hated software on the planet. They're saying that it's biased. Um, what else has happened this past week? I mean, if you go and like do a search by workday and go into news and look in the past week, it is not pretty.
I love so I just pulled up the Business Insider article, and there's a quote at the top: getting someone onboarded using Workday is like trying to get water from your sink to your stove using a colander.
Wow.
It's kind of funny. Well, I guess like I think you and I both have our own. So I've implemented Workday, or was a part of an implementation of Workday at one of my previous employers, and it is not as great as everyone thinks it is. You literally need an entire development team on the employer side to get everything working the way you need it to. And unless you have like an internal dev team that's just dedicated to your HRIS tool, which who has headcount for that in HR, you can't actually make it work the way you need it to work. So I do find that part interesting, that I'm not, I am a fan from the user experience once it's built.
I mean, to be honest, I've never used it. I
It's
haven't personally used it. I've just heard all the rumors.
it's very pretty. It's very pretty.
I like pretty things.
Yeah.
I think that what's interesting is that they were saying that they encourage companies to, like, people who work at companies end up having to work more. What?
Yeah, because because it's not, there's no, like, I forget what the expression is that they use, that it's not customizable, it's configurable. Or
Mhm.
it may, or maybe I'm saying that backwards. And so it's not like you can't make it work for your specific needs in your specific company. So it's just, it's like, it's kind of a off the shelf, out of the box option, but everyone thinks it's so pretty that they think it was going to be like the be all end all. That was kind of the way it was touted when it was launched. And then it was like, actually, no, it's not that great. And they were also doing the whole thing, which I know a lot of companies do, which, they were kind of building the plane as they were flying it. And so half of the modules or different, like the ATS didn't work.
Yes.
The whatever didn't work. Clearly, the ATS still is not working if there is bias in the algorithms to screen candidates. But it's fascinating to me that is. It doesn't shock me because I mean, we have quite a few friends, William Tincup, I'm looking at you, who are not fans of Workday and, are definitely on the bandwagon of not supporting them in any way, shape, or form. So
The thing is, it's like, what? Also, which is it? Do you want an all-in-one platform? Do you really? I just can't, like, so many people do, and that's why people have it. We have to look at what is good. Whatever, y'all, people can talk trash all day, just like they do about LinkedIn, yet everybody uses it. Just like
right,
they do about Salesforce, yet everybody uses it.
right.
And so people can talk shit all day. It is like the top um like HRIS system. And I went to their conference. Literally, it was like in 3 buildings.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
they're
it's
ginormous. People are using it. They're making the investment.
right. And I mean, their stock prices isn't suffering from this lawsuit or anything
Right.
else.
No.
They're printing money.
And I
Right.
don't think it's going to hurt them directly, because I think they're going to go in and say it's bullshit because of the way that it's no, because people just aren't that smart. They
No,
would by mistake hire somebody who was Black and over 40
right.
because of their name and where they went to school. Like they're just not that smart.
Uh-uh.
But I do think this is going to scare a lot of people into doing the right thing, what they should be doing from the very beginning. So, like, to be clear, I'm not saying I don't know anything. I haven't used Workday. I'm not a part of the lawsuit, class action, whatever. But I think it's interesting that we're looking at suing a major player in this space and thinking of how many other tools. That's literally their pitch, is that, oh yeah, you can fire half your recruiting team and I'll do all the screening for you. Or the ones that are acting as an agent and making the decision to make your hiring decisions. I mean, come on. Right now, like, I think even like going through the manual process, looking for our VP of sales, is that I don't know if a company is a startup or not. So it takes me forever to go individually, company by company, to look up if it's a SaaS company, if it's HR tech, if it's B2B sales, because I want to be fair. I can't just reject them and say, the company's named ICE. That doesn't feel like a SaaS HR tech startup. That's not a good enough answer. So it takes forever. So I can't imagine feeling like we haven't taught the algorithm of what that, they're not looking up all those things. We haven't taught them, especially if you're from 2 years ago. How would you know if a company is set for today? I don't know. I just think I think that I'm glad that they're looking at it. It'll be interesting to see what the impact will have on the overall industry. I don't think long-term it'll have an overall impact on Workday at all.
Do you love news about LinkedIn, Indeed, Google, and just about every other recruitment tech company out there?
Hell yeah. I'm Chad.
I'm Cheese.
We're the Chad and Cheese Podcast.
All the latest recruiting news and insights are on our show,
dripping in snark and attitude.
Subscribe today wherever you listen to your podcasts. We out.
We'll see. We shall see. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about this. The Washington Post actually published an article about DEI getting a new name. And
I saw that.
Can it overcome the baggage that it has, blah, blah, blah. And, how so many companies, especially public companies that have to prepare an ESG report and set ESG goals, so environmental, social, and governance goals, that, they're replacing diversity and really focusing on the word inclusion, which on one hand, it kind of does make me chuckle, because I'm like, yeah, anyone who's been doing this for any amount of time actually focuses on inclusion first, because that's what you have to focus on first. But the fact that now companies are saying, oh, we are not going to use that language anymore, and we're not going to put it in all of our names, and all of these different things. But it is also another attack on how do we keep this work going, and how do we keep inclusion kind of up front of mind as a priority for companies. That's the thing that I worry about, is that, is this going to kind of fall off people's radar? And hopefully it won't. I don't want to talk about the Washington Post article very much, because someone that we're not really a fan of is quoted in there.
Lots of times.
Lots of times. Yeah. And so, I think the piece for me is that, when you think about, and to be clear, there's a lot of very great DEI consultancies that are also quoted in this article. So that's a good part. But it is it just highlights some of the ways that this work is, again, under attack, and, getting, I think the word that was used was, pummeled, that kind of thing, in regards to how we actually do this work and how we get this work, again, to stay front of mind with folks. But it's just another way. But have you seen, or are you all doing anything different from the language that you're using about DEI?
I don't think we have. When I say we just haven't over-indexed on it, because we just launched a new product that really talks about your existing workforce, and it really does focus on being fair and making sure everybody's getting adequate feedback. But I think that overall, it has been the message of, if we're trying to help people be more inclusive, if we're focusing on inclusion, like we need to get it into as many hands as possible to make the change. I don't want language to be the reason why somebody doesn't have it. I just also think that I don't understand why people are trying to control the narrative if it's going to be the same thing. I mean, it's really stupid, you know. I don't. It just the thing that I just don't understand why people are so stupid, Katie. All it's going to take is for me to sue the organization, which will happen, for them being discriminatory because it's still against the law, and something major is going to happen in order for them to say, oh, we should focus on DEIB. It's not, it's just dumb. Okay, so tell everybody that you don't care about DEIB. Awesome. And now I'm going to sue you for being discriminatory. What are you going to say? No? Like if you literally want to, you know, cause some mass hysteria, do that.
Right. It's just, there's just so much noise around DEI right now. And I say noise because I just feel like it is the perfect example of how the media manipulates people and topics, and how, you know, there has to be a, you know, some sort of very powerful group that is behind some of these things, that is just pushing for certain narratives and certain things. I mean, you know, when you see this type of article from seamlessly a, you know, somewhat reputable organization like the Washington Post, you do go, oh, wow, okay, well, wait, what's going on? What's this about? Blah, blah. Or, you know, Business Insider, as you know, from the article we were just talking about earlier. So it is that, well, no, but is this something we need to worry about or think about, or is this just noise to distract from the work that we're actually trying to do?
I think it's just, but you have to get more specific. It's noise from cisgender, hetero, like super conservative, like mega church Christian. Like it's very, very specific, but also the people that have the largest amount of money and unbalance equal of power trying to hold on. Oh, I did it again. If you don't know, if you're watching on YouTube, if I raise my hand, it makes us switch.
If you talk with your hands, as
Jackye I'm
sorry.
Sometimes says, I cannot have the react button on the
the reactions on Zoom are getting updated to Teams.
But I mean, that's the challenge, and it's just out of desperation, holding on for as long as you can because you are like 5 years away from being obsolete. So it makes sense if you really thought that your whole people are going to be eradicated. But you would think in the meantime, you would make better choices to make sure that you are being inclusive, that we can all work in a fair and equitable place until you get someplace and there's a shift in power. Then you're going to fall victim and prey to the same laws that you tried to implement in the first place.
It is like, what are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to do with whatever you're working on? And, you know, hopefully this isn't going to like make it even worse. But
when you say worse, what do you mean?
Like it's because companies are backing off or not talking about this, or, you know, maybe deprioritizing it. Or, I mean, we know obviously after the murder of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and some of the other social justice activities, if you will, that occurred a few years ago, everyone was watching at home because of COVID. And so it was like, it became much more real for folks. And now my concern is there's so much other stuff. I mean, if we could just talk about any topic. I mean, Drake and whatever having some sort of beef and writing songs about each other. I like that's coming up on my on the woman that listens to everything I say and turns lights on for me. And so it's that type of stuff that like is just there are distractions, and you then go, okay, how do we actually get cut out some of that fluff,
right,
and actually like come full circle or whatever. And then like, because like for example, like this, I don't know if you are a fan of Yellowstone.
No,
Okay.
I'm
Have you-
not a fan. I just didn't watch it.
Okay. The suspension of disbelief is you have to be really prepared that there's going to be things that are going to happen that you're like, this is not any way real because this could never happen in a real situation. But one of the stars, it's actually, so they made like 4 other kind of spin-offs from this, and one of them was this 1883, and then there was another one. I'm gonna forget what it was, what year it was. That it doesn't matter. But one of the stars, who is a Native American, he was found in the woods, murdered, or they, it was dead under suspicious circumstances, I'll say, and his hair had been cut off, which is like a huge, like no one would do that in the Native community. And then it came out that this woman that he was friends with or had some interaction with actually cut his hair. And then 2 days later, he was found dead in the woods. Then the story evolves to his sister was found dead in the woods 6 months ago or 8 months ago. And so, and the kid, or he's not a kid, he's an adult. Cole brings plenty. He was very beloved by a lot of people because he was a star in the show. And the police are basically like shutting it down and making it into, oh, it wasn't a big deal. Like it's suicide. It's, let's just shut this case down. When there's so much around it, they're like, no, there has to be more to this story. And I'm using that as an example of, we have so many of those types of things happening right now in the world that are like, I won't say cover up, but it's like, oh, we're not going to focus on that. Look over here at the stupid thing
Right.
we're doing, and the different focuses that we do keep, like Drake and who is it that's having Kendrick Lamar?
I was about to say he's got a name. He's got a whole name.
I know. I was trying to remember what his name was because that's how much I'm not invested in their beef. I'm not very much into what I'll say the newer rap generation. I stick with the old school, like my boy Snoop, my special friend Snoop.
Well, I have been fully vested in the Drake Kendrick Lamar. I'm a big fan of Kendrick Lamar. But the thing that when you talk about that, and you would be, it's fun. You would be vested if you knew, because he came out with a song that is very much in the spirit of Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar did. But
Okay.
The thing that was going on with that, it's just like anybody else's beef. But the thing is, we're in a different age, in a different decade. It's really funny when someone's like has a diss track and it's like, you're not a very good dad because you're not fully present. What? Yeah. Okay. Like that's like
That is literally, is that what he said? Or
it's part of it. It's
Oh my
part of it,
God.
yeah, for real. But then like saying like all of the different pieces that have been going in. What's interesting to me is that it wasn't just news and fed your algorithm. It was like on NPR. It was like on
Right.
MSNBC. It was like in CNN. And the tail is wagging the dog at this point. Like this is how bad it is. I literally was told on YouTube, there's this new program that can tell you where you're getting your news from, taking it article by article to tell you about the author, if it's right or left leaning, the accuracy. I was about to like actually buy a product to do that. How sad is it that I can't, like
You
the
can't trust
news
anything.
and the stuff that we're getting is a distraction of what's going on, because we're getting a bunch of crap.
Right.
And don't know what's actually going on. Like there's a freaking whole lawsuit against Donald Trump. I don't understand why I care about Kendrick Lamar and Drake if I don't know what the person who is the Republican candidate for president who's getting sued right now for hush money.
Well, don't worry.
So
that law or that case is happening right now, and Stormy Daniels actually was on the witness stand yesterday.
Yeah.
I think she might have been on the witness stand again today, but But don't worry, the judge in Florida
Just
postponed
stop right there. Like, really?
postponed his other cases because they think it's unfair to do it right now while he's in a political race.
Shut up.
Or it's very important for us to have this because we're trying to make a decision on who's going to run the country.
Right. Or that.
Or that. Either or.
But maybe not.
One of those is right. One of those is wrong.
I mean, I don't know. I'm terrified just because it's like worse. And it's like, I say worse. I don't know. Like I said, it's like the tail is wagging the dog. It's going to take people to take a stand. I think we're going to see people who don't want to live with their head in the sand that are going to be making more choices besides me and Katie. We're going to be making those right choices and still being the same. But I think we have to be careful, because what is happening is the overall culture in the United States and how you treat your workforce, what's important and what we're giving people, and like the productivity is going to be affected. And so what are we going to do with that?
You might be surprised to know that not all serial killers are straight cisgender white men, and the victims of true crime are not a monolith either. She's Wendy and I'm Beth, and together we host Fruit Loops Serial Killers of Color, a true crime podcast.
Together we take deep dives into the true crime stories about marginalized and minoritized perps and victims that often go untold.
We also provide the context and nuance that these stories deserve. At Fruit Loops, we're serving up true crime with a side of history, society, culture, and some fun.
Listen to Fruit Loop Serial Killers of Color on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I don't know. I mean, because I remember back when Trump was elected and then Charlottesville happened, and very soon after, and it was like work was disrupted, like majorly. Now, since that time, as we all know, there have been so many just horrific things that have occurred to people from marginalized communities. So it almost it's desensitized people in a way. So that's the other part that scares me, is that, if he is reelected, productivity might take a hit, but it's also, we won't be living in a democracy anymore. And so what does that actually mean to the United States?
Right.
I was just traveling, as Jackye, I was traveling to a couple other countries in Europe a few weeks ago. And the conversation is, how Trump is similar to Putin, how the US, like what is going on in the US, that this is even a topic of conversation. And, it's one of those things that it's just ongoing conversations and ongoing things that are distracting employees, but then it's also our employees desensitized to so much of this stuff that is, no, we need you to be paying attention, and we need you to be fighting this, and we need you to be voting, and all of these things. So I don't know. There's a lot going on.
Hopefully, you'll fix it.
I am going to
fix it. It can't be like who's going to fix it. It's us that are going to fix it. So hopefully us and our listeners are going to take a bigger, have another opportunity to get fixed, because Lord knows there is some fixing needed to happen.
Yeah. Somebody needs to fix it right now. Jackye, I do want to share something with the listeners and with you. You might already know this. So Slack has a meme that you can, or meme creator, I should say. I don't know if you knew this or not.
No.
But you create your own memes in Slack. And I had a client reach out to me because they said someone created this meme and we have a global team. We don't know how this will be received in Germany specifically. And it was grammar Nazi.
And what are you talking about?
And the swastika was the actual like picture for the grammar Nazi. And And I was like, okay, yeah, well, first, like delete that or whatever you need to do and like have your IT team block that from your Slack channel so that it can't be used. But then it like made me think like, how would that be received by folks in Germany? So as you know, I have team members over there. So I asked one of them that, as a trusted partner, I just said, hey, I want to ask you something. I want to just, get your take. How would this be? And she at first was like, what does it mean? I don't get it. Like, cause she had no idea how those two words kind of came together. And then I explained it to her and she's like, yeah, that's weird. And then when I told her, it's a swastika and she was like, yeah, that's not great. And like, it was very much we don't use that word and that's not a word that should be used. So for those of you who have Slack as one of your communication tools, please know, especially my HR friends out there that have to monitor some of these things and keep an eye on certain things. There are ways that your team members can create memes that maybe are not as professional or appropriate as we would like.
Katie.
It's just dumb. Yes, exactly. It's just dumb. So anyhow, I just wanted to call that out to folks because as we're talking about different things right now, these are the types of things that, again, people become desensitized to a word that has an extremely heavy meaning to a lot of people around the globe. And so just being aware of some of that stuff, I just want to call it out. I want to call it out to folks.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yes.
I'm getting up because I see Scooby is going to hurt herself and try to come into my office.
Scooby-Doo.
Lots of stuff going on today, Katie.
Yes. Yes, it is. So I want to ask you, Jacqueline, what is one thing you want our listeners to have heard during this episode?
Geez, I don't know. We're doomed.
It's all over. Save yourself.
Save yourself.
Mine is, if you haven't built your bomb shelter, now is your time to do it. Become a doomsday prepper. No, so actually I was reading something and it was completely ridiculous. Well, I shouldn't say it's not completely ridiculous, but slightly ridiculous. And it was literally like, make sure you have a battery powered radio that you can plug in as well in case power goes out, but have that backup generator type thing. Make sure you have water, make sure you have all of these things. And you think about it and you're like, yeah, that's where we are right now. Like that at any moment we could have the next World War. We could have any number of things happening that are not great. And with that, I want to wrap it up and say, thanks everyone for listening to our very, sad and depressing episode. No, I'm just kidding.
It was sad and depressing. I want to take it back. What I want people to do is make sure you know where you're getting your news sources and just double check and verify.
Yeah. And mine is AI is not the answer to everything. And make sure
it could be the answer to a lawsuit though.
It could be the answer to a lawsuit. Yeah. So we were actually talking today. I was talking to one of my managers about, can I write a performance improvement plan using ChatGPT? And I was like, I actually would like you to try and see what it comes up with, just because I was curious. And so he said he was going to try. So I'll report back during the next episode what I learned from him, if it actually worked or not. Okay. ChatGPT. All right. This is Katie Van Horn.
And this is Jackye Clayton.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Welcome, change agents, to your go-to place for stories that ignite your spirit, fuel your purpose, and connect us all. We believe in the incredible power of the human spirit, its boundless resilience, and the inspiration it brings to our lives. On the Driving Change podcast, we'll journey together through the extraordinary yet very relatable experiences of some of the most amazing people on earth. Our mission? That through these stories, we might just spark change within you and awaken a newfound motivation to harness your unique gifts to make a real difference in the world. So get ready to be inspired and join us on this incredible adventure. You can find the Driving Change podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you love listening to your favorite podcasts.